And the killings in France silenced non-Muslims into submission by not talking about the Prophet Muhammad for fear of death. With me now, Harris Zafar, author of Demystifying Islam, Tackling the Tough Questions, and Zuhdi Jasser with the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. Harris, you're offended by reference to the term Muslim terrorism, and you prefer simply designating it terrorism. Why is that?
Well, Judge, it's not a matter of being offended. Offense doesn't really bother me. What our main goal is how do we undermine the ideology by which terror groups like this recruit the naive and, quite frankly, ignorant Muslim youth out there that think that this is some sort of higher calling. So instead of justifying and validating that this is Islamic, this is Muslim, we want to show that what our teachings are, the true teachings of Islam, that's Islamic, that's Muslim. And if you want to adhere yourself to something that's Islamic or Muslim, follow the path of tolerance, of submitting towards God and loving mankind, as opposed to what their ideology is, which quite frankly is the antithesis of Islam. So that's the distinction, is let's call Islam what the philosophy of its teachings are, not what these radical lunatics call it.
Okay, so what you're saying is that the issue of jihad is something that is foreign to jihad, the Muslim religion, to Islam.
So this is the great conversation to have. That's the conversation to have, that Islam is the rich faith. So Islam is the rich faith. That's the diverse that talks about how to increase relationship with God.
No. The question that I'm asking you is very simple,
And then
Harris.
jihad is that component of Islam.
Excuse me, Harris. The question that I'm asking you is very simple. And that is, you are saying that in the religion, in the Muslim religion, there is no call for jihad.
That's what I was trying to clarify, that jihad is an Islamic concept which talks about the struggle to follow the path of Islam, to increase your relationship with God, and to defend religious freedom. And that's the misunderstanding amongst many Muslims.
But does defending their religious freedom mean subjugating, as Chowdhury said the other day, everyone other than Muslims? I'll go to you, Zuhdi.
Well, I mean, Judge and Harris, I mean, don't you think, Harris, the American public is sick and tired of hearing apologetics after they see on media, magazines, 12 people killed? They saw thousands killed by Boko Haram. They see in Saudi Arabia Islamic law used to whip liberals like myself and others who are trying to speak out in the name of Islam and get whipped. And you'll say that's not Islam and you'll have an apologetic. But the bottom line is the infrastructure, the corpus, the laws that they're using are part of an Islam that's out there. And as long as you continue the apologetics and denial, you might be well-intended, Harris, but the bottom line is you're preventing the reforms by being in denial. We can't have the conversation, and we need an intervention if we can't have this conversation about jihad and end the entire concept of jihad, because it comes from the Islamic State concept.
Harris, let me ask you this. Isn't jihad obligatory for every Muslim?
Yes, the great jihad of purifying yourself, the greatest jihad of also defending using rationality is. So this is what I'm talking about. Instead of the rhetoric that we're hearing, which is about labels, far from the petty argument of labels, what I think the American public wants and deserves is how do we protect innocent lives from being killed. And so I agree
Harris,
with my colleague.
I'm going to stop you for a second. I've got the book here, The Reliance of the Traveler, okay? This is the Bible, the law that interprets the Quran, and it says that jihad is a communal obligation, and it's the obligation of anyone, and they're talking about the enemy and destroying the enemy and the unfaithful and the non-believers. I'm not stupid.
So
I'm a judge. I can read this.
Yeah, the book you should have in front of you is the Quran, in which the jihad is perfectly is clarified. But you're right. I agree with you, Judge, that jihad is perhaps the most misunderstood and manipulated concept in Islam,
Zuhdi,
which is why I dedicated an entire chapter of my book to clarify and confront it.
Harris, you
she's reading from
Harris, stop. Zuhdi, go.
Harris, she's reading from the leading Sharia book for Shafi'i school of thought in Sunni Islam, so you can sit and tell the American public something. Yeah, you can tell the American public whatever you want right now, but your denial is preventing the confrontation of the imams that are teaching this stuff that infuses the radicalism, not only of the guys in Paris, but in Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and elsewhere.
You're right. I agree with you.
We have an ad running tomorrow in the New York Times. We have to have a jihad against jihad, and your apology apologetics are killing us. They're killing Islam and killing Muslims and killing free people.
Harris, let me just say
you
one
know
thing.
The track record of us is we're confronting that ideology and we'll continue to do so.
It's the responsibility of Muslims to rise up and stop groups like ISIS who cause chaos. That's your interpretation of the Quran. Where does it say that? Harris?
It says very clearly in the Quran that when you see two parties of believers fighting and you make peace, and if one who transgresses, you fight them.
They're not fighting with each other. They're fighting with the non-believers.
Yes, they are.
Harris,
oh, absolutely not, Judge. You need to read the news then, Judge. They're killing Muslims.
And everybody else.